News 360 live from our studios here at Adisawe Kanda in Accra, also live on all our social media platforms at TV3 Ghana. I am Noble Crosby Annan.
And I am Ayisha Yakubu. Coming up, the headlines.
News 360 headlines is brought to you by
Flamingo Paint,
Pepsodent Charcoal and Pepsodent Herbal,
EcoBank.
Right, with the end of his first 120-day social contract expected this week, President John Dramani Mahama is set to unveil a code of conduct for all government appointees on Monday, May 5.
Ghana Railway Development Authority says an additional month is needed to make the Tema-Mpakadan shuttle service operational. Tonight, we bring you details of challenges that have delayed its operationalization.
Also coming up, growing concern are screen overuse among children tied to surge in speech and language development issues.
And in international news, Chinese leader Xi Jinping will pay an official visit to Russia from May 7 to 10 to deepen ties. There are details of these and many more stories, including sports and entertainment, coming up over the next 1 hour. Please stay with us.
Let's begin the bulletin from here. President John Dramani Mahama is set to unveil a comprehensive code of conduct for all government appointees on Monday, May 5. This is part of efforts to promote transparency and accountability in public office. Minister in charge of Government Communications, Felix Kwachiofosu, who shared the announcement via social media handle, highlighted the significance of the upcoming week in the context of President Mahama's 120-day social contract. Now, the new code of conduct is expected to lay down clear ethical guidelines and operational standards for ministers, advisors, and other top officials, reinforcing President Mahama's pledge to deliver responsible governance. The 1992 Constitution of the Republic of Ghana provides for a code of conduct for public officers. Now, Article 284 states that a public officer shall not put himself in a position where his personal interest conflicts or is likely to conflict with the performance of the functions of his office. Article 286 also makes provision for the declaration of assets and state in Clause 1 as follows: a person who holds a public office mentioned in Clause 5 of this article shall submit to the Auditor General a written declaration of all property or assets owed by or liabilities owed by him, whether directly or indirectly.
Now let's listen to then candidate John Mahama speaking at the NDC manifesto launch at the University of Education, Winneba, on Saturday, August 24, 2024.
All our cabinet ministers for parliamentary approval within the first 14 days in office will constitute the leanest and most efficient government in the history of the Fourth Republic in the first 90 days in office. We'll hold a national economic dialogue to discuss the true state of the economy and prepare a homegrown fiscal consolidation program to guide the budget. We'll introduce the no academic fee stress policy for all first-year students in universities, in technical universities, in polytechnics, colleges of education, nursing training institutions under our no fee stress initiative. We'll commence within 120 days the distribution of free sanitary pads to female students in basic and secondary schools. The Ghana Medical Care Trust, which will be a fund that will help treatment of kidney ailments, hypertension, heart disease, high blood pressure, and all those kinds of things.
Let's have a discussion on this development. Professor Enoch Opoku Entry is governance expert and he joins us on the telephone. Good evening, Prof, and thank you for joining us on News 360.
And greetings to all your listeners everywhere in the world.
Prof, so how do you think this new code of conduct for government appointees will impact public trust in government?
Thank you. This is leadership, pure leadership. So overall, the code of conduct in governance is paramount in promoting ethical behavior, preventing corruption, serves as a moral compass, and then build public trust in government institutions. And if you look at it, we are talking about properly placed accountability. So it is making these appointees accountable for their own actions and then inactions. And why is that necessary? Because the objective is to create a system that will increase the likelihood of the right people doing the right things in the right way, at the right time, for the right reasons, so that the right results will be achieved for the country.
So from where you sit as a governance expert, what kind of mechanisms do you think are needed for an independent oversight?
We need a lot of individuals who are independent, like the OSP, and those who can prosecute these individuals to make sure that they are going to the dictates of the code of conduct. So when we talk about transparency, we have to make sure that there are institutions making sure that they are transparent and they are not misconducting themselves. When we talk about corruption, we have to make sure that there are indices based on corruption perception index to see whether they are corrupt or not. And how do you measure that? Because corruption is done in secrecy. So we need institutions that will have to make sure that those who have decided to corrupt themselves, they will be caught and punished severely. When we talk about building trust, yes, go ahead.
But do you foresee any challenges arising from trying to enforce this?
People will always test the pulse of the president in making sure that they veer on the code of conduct. And that is where, when one person is caught, it's just like drinking alcohol. You start with, a sip, and then the next day you are drinking a bottle, the next day 2, 3, and before you know, you are alcoholic. So scandals lead to corruption. And somebody will try to touch the pulse of the president to see if they misconduct themselves, what the president do. If that person is punished severely, it will deter the others from doing the same.
Well, thank you very much for your time this evening on News 360. Professor Enoch Opoku-Entry is a governance expert. Now, let's take you through the social contract President John Mahama set for his government for his first 120 days in office. Crosby is on the magic screen to bring us more on that. Crosby.
Well, Ayisha, so you know that today, May 4, we have just about a few days for the 120 days to happening. It's on Thursday. So if we're benchmarking what the president has promised when he was, flag bearer of the party wanting to become president, we have just about a few more days to the 120 days. These are some of the promises that he made before he became president. Now, let's measure the levels of achievement or whether or not the processes that have gone through when it comes to implementing or letting these things see the light of day. He first spoke about appointing ministers within 14 days, appointing and submitting cabinet ministers within 14 days. So that confidently we can say that has been done, and that accounts for about 4% of what the president promised when he was flag bearer campaigning to become president. He also wanted to form the leanest and the most efficient government within 90 days. Now we know that has also happened because of the number of ministers he has appointed, the number of deputy ministers he has appointed, and all of that. You remember the conversation about President Akufo-Addo having a bloated government and the impact on the country's public purse. Now, what we just spoke about, establish a code of conduct for government officials. There are conversations that have begun concerning this, and we expect that the president will, this week, hopefully tomorrow, begin to do this. Lay down the document that will spell out the code of conduct, the do's and don'ts of appointees in his government. So that we cannot take that yet because it is yet to be fully implemented, if you like. Now, the bit about holding a national dialogue and develop a homegrown fiscal plan, that we can also confidently say has happened. That happened here in Accra. It's had the presence of various stakeholders, people in academia, people who are knowledgeable in the country's financial space, all contributing to this economic dialogue and helping to develop a homegrown fiscal plan to help the finances of the country. Now we're looking at this, scrap harsh taxes, including e-levy. You know that e-levy was a big conversation going into the 2024 elections. The president has been able to scrap this e-levy tax, COVID-19 levy. There are conversations about, changing it. Betting tax is no more. The emissions levy is also no more. So, some way, somehow, we'll be able to let this also go. That's something the president has done. That's 16%. Fast forward, we're reviewing import taxes on industrial and agricultural equipment. Also, something that the president promised to do. Conversations have begun ongoing about this particular one. So we will not be able to say that has happened yet, but discussions have begun. Now, prepare legal groundwork for the 24-hour economic policy. The policy has not been implemented yet, but the groundwork, legal framework, the discussions concerning the 24-hour economic policy has begun in earnest. Hopefully, it also happens, the policy itself is launched in the coming days to satisfy a lot of Ghanaians. So, the president also decided had intentions to set up the Accelerated Export Development Council to boost exports. That is expected to happen this week. So we cannot mark that yet. We cannot take that as something that he has done yet. Now, he also wanted to host a national conference on education reforms. That also happened. He had the education minister as well as all other stakeholders, various CSOs in the education space contributing to better the country's education, particularly the free senior high school program and the challenges that it has been facing. So far, we're seeing about some 24% of the president's 120-day contract. Now, implement no academic fee policy for first-year tertiary students. Confidently, we can say that that has begun. That has also been done, championed by the Education Minister, Haruna Idrisu. Introduce social interventions for free tertiary education for persons with a disability and the Mahama Cares Fund. So that also happened just last week. There are conversations that the name of the Mahama Cares Fund should not, be leading because it may discourage people from contributing wholeheartedly. So that we can say has happened. Distribute free sanitary pads to female students. That has also happened under his administration. Now launch forensic audits into key corruption scandals. You know that what the Attorney General, Dr. Dominic Ayeni, has begun, for instance, the National Signals Bureau, for instance, that is also something that has been done. Ban political appointees from buying state assets. The president has mentioned it. Conversations are ongoing, but it has not happened. Hopefully, that is included in the code of conduct that we expect the president to launch yesterday. So we cannot, take that yet. Right. If we're going to allocating seed money for the establishment of the Women's Development Bank, the expectation is that happens this week. Hopefully, that happens tomorrow as well. Create jobs through a Jumura apprenticeship and 1 million coders program. That has been done. Yeah. So we saw
as well as the Women's Development Bank.
Of course. So this has been done as well as the 1 million coders program, as well as the Jumura apprenticeship and the 1 million coders program. Sam George was championing it. It was launched a few weeks back. The president also, when he wanted to become president, wanted to scrap the ban on salvage vehicle imports to support local artisans. Conversations are ongoing. The president is keen on letting this happen, so we cannot confidently say that it has happened yet. The president also wanted to reform government scholarships to end political favoritism. You know that the scholarship scheme hitherto had come under a lot of scrutiny over, the political concerns people have about it being the scholarship applications being influenced politically. Conversations have begun, not yet. Ban illegal mining and launch environmental recovery initiatives. This, we can say that has been done. Right. You know what the lands minister did, launched the blue water economy, the conversations about that, and the blue water guards, I should say, that has been done. Now introduce the Blackster experience to boost tourism. That happened just last a few week, yeah. Yes, exactly. Now the president also promised to purge security agencies of militia and vigilante elements. This is something that is also of concern to many people. The Interior Minister, we know that has begun processes to ensure that this is done, so that the word vigilantism and militia use in various elements, in various organizations, is not something we see happening often. Now, reopen investigations into major unresolved crimes. This is a promise the president made, forming part of all the comments of Operation Recover All Loot, if you like, to some extent. Now, this has been done. The probe, the Akosombo Dam spillage and its impact, this we also understand has been done. Now, compensate flood victims. The budget made provisions for it. So the expectation is that it should have been done by now, or conversations are far advanced, plans are far advanced to ensure that this happens. Restructure loss-making state-owned enterprises. The president mentioned, that it has begun processes to ensure that state-owned enterprises are able to make profit. That the engagement with SIGA, and saying that if these staff of the state-owned enterprises, they should be able to know that the enterprises belong to them, so they should ensure that the enterprises work adequately. So far, we're seeing some 72% implementation or success rate of the President 120-day social contract. We're not up to 120 days yet. We have just about a few days, maybe 4 days more. Hopefully, we reach the 100% mark that the president will want to do. But this, I should also tell you, that was put together by the TV3 research desk led by Enoch and then Wisdom. They did a very good job putting this together so that we'll be able to understand what the president has done so far and what is left of the president to do, Ayisha. Well,
thank you very much for that information and that vivid background. So we're looking forward to how all of that pans out. Let's move away from that, Crosby. A former chief executive officer of the National Petroleum Authority under the Akufo-Addo administration, Dr. Mustafa Abdul Hamid, has criticized President John Mahama for what he described as a lack of clear policy direction. His remarks made during the NPP's thank you tour in the Savannah region has drawn a swift response from the NDC, with Dr. Tanko Rashid Computer defending President Mahama's leadership.
The former National Petroleum Authority boss and senior NPP figure, Dr. Mustafa Abdul Hamid, says he is not backing down in the face of criticism. Addressing party supporters during the NPP's thank you tour in Damango, he boldly declared that he has no regrets about the party's governance record.
All these things General Secretary and Co are saying, Dr. Bawumia, well, they are nice guys. I'm not a very nice guy. So they are nice guys. They will say they are sorry, they did this. But wallahi, there is no policy that the MPP implemented that I am sorry about. Wallahi, I'm not sorry about anything. We did our best.
He took aim at President John Mahama and the current NDC government, accusing them of indecision and asserting that the NDC cannot surpass the legacy of the NPP no matter how hard they try.
Oh, look, already see what's going on in governance. Today they appoint somebody chief executive. Tomorrow they change him and take him here. Tomorrow, my oil refinery, they appointed combat. The next week they removed him at Suleimana. Yesterday they removed Suleimana. This is a confused government. They are not going anywhere. And there is nothing that John Mahama will ever do that will match anything that we have done.
In response, Deputy Director of Elections and IT for the NDC, Dr. Tanko Rashid Computer, reaffirmed that President Mahama is fully in control of national issues.
For being another place. This is what Nana-Addo didn't do for 8 years, and we suffered. And look at how they ran down the economy under their finance minister, of which their own party, MPs, 98 of them, wrote petition and saying that remove that finance minister because he was causing mess for this country. What did they do? Excellency is on top of issues. He understood the governance of this country far better than these noisemakers. And he knows who I should put where and who I should take and move another place. He has the prerogative of power. That is it. The executive power. The Constitution gave him that thing. He can appoint you today and tomorrow and disappoint you. When their own party people were running helter-skelter and asking that remove these people, what was he doing? The president was dumb. He was just sitting there. His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, he is on top of issues. He has a full grasp of his government and he knows what he's doing.
As the NPP continues to regroup following its defeat in the 2024 elections, political debate is heating up. Both parties remain steadfast in defending their records, but ultimately the verdict rests with the Ghanaian people.
Let's bring you some other stories tonight. As part of the capital were plunged into darkness on Sunday following a fire outbreak at the ECG Achimota bulk supply point. The blaze disrupted electricity supply to several areas. Emergency crews responded swiftly and power has since been restored. Deborah Abamensa has the rest in this report.
Fire outbreak at the Achimota bulk supply point on Sunday, May 4, disrupted power supply to several parts of Accra, leaving homes and businesses without electricity for hours. Thick plumes of smoke were seen billowing from the facility, drawing the attention of nearby residents and passers-by. Personnel from the Ghana National Fire Service responded promptly to douse the flames. According to the Electricity Company of Ghana, a loud spark was heard moments before the fire erupted.
We came to check what was going on, then we realized that this system has caught fire. So we invited the fire service to come control the situation, which they did. So currently we are investigating the cause of the fire. So there were some outages which affected our customers, but now they are all back with reliable power supply. So everything is under control as we speak. There were no casualties, with the exception of our system getting damaged.
The ECG confirmed the incident and revealed that the fire disrupted power distribution to several areas.
We had Kanda, we had part of cantonment, we had Hacho, Medina, Legon, and then the industrial area. Those are the areas that were affected by the outage.
The company said the fire started around 10:45 a.m. and power was fully restored by 1:20 p.m. following a swift response. The outage lasted for approximately 2 hours. The affected component and earthen protective system has been isolated and efforts are underway to replace it. Authorities have cordoned off the area to ensure public safety as investigations into the cause of the fire continue.
Now, the Ghana National Fire Service is urging metropolitan, municipal and district assemblies to prioritize the construction of fire stations to bolster the service's capacity in tackling and preventing fire outbreaks. The service successfully salvaged property worth 550 million Ghana cedis from fire incident in 2024. Divisional Officer Grade 2 Desmond Naka is head of public relations at the Ghana National Fire Service.
We can only do this with the support of the general public. Without their support, whatever effort that we will put in will not yield much. If people begin to make changes in their attitude towards their own safety, I think it will go a long way to help us. Many a times people accuse us of not doing much, but the statistics or the figures that we are seeing suggest that we remain one of the active security agency in Ghana. So when a lot more resources are given, when corporate Ghana comes on board, when individuals, well-meaning individuals who want to protect their property and secure their investments in Ghana come on board to support us with some APPs, appropriate fire protection equipment or working gears and even utility vehicles mounted with PA systems, educate Ghanaians about fire prevention. And also, when we have this modern equipment, like RIVs, rapid intervention vehicles, firefighting motors, where we can deploy them at various highways and even our commercial centers to reduce some of these distractions when the fires break out. I mean, it will go a long way to improve upon our response time. And then also, lastly, if the MMDAs are also able to prioritize us by expanding or building in areas where we do not cover, and even where we have cover, when they are able to add a few other stations with functional attendants, that is where we become closer, or we are seeing more closer in the communities. The fact that when fires or related life-threatening emergency occur, at the beacon on us, we are able to reach out there within.
To some other stories tonight, the Ghana Railway Development Authority has indicated it will require an additional month to make the Tema Mpakadan shuttle service operational. Roads and Transport correspondent Stanley Nibler reports that the shuttle service originally scheduled for launch last month has faced multiple challenges, including widespread encroachment and safety infractions along the rail line.
The 97-kilometer Tema Mpakadan Railway
is designed to ease the movement of goods from the port city of Tema to Mpakadan with onward ferry transport to Bupe in the Savannah region. The $447 million project is expected to play an important part of a multimodal transport system, integrating rail, road, and inland transport. Although the shuttle service was expected to be launched and fully operational mid last month, the timeline has elapsed. Acting Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Railway Development Authority, Dr. Frederick Apo says preparations are in the final stages. These include community sensitization, track synchronization, and safety validation exercises.
As part of the operational readiness, we need to develop what we call the operational strategy documentation. This basically includes what I call the maintenance strategy, the operational strategy, the time slot, the timetabling. All these activities have also been done. And we have also developed what we call a safety regulation.
A significant portion of the railway's periphery in Tema, Ashaiman, Tulaku and Afienya has been encroached upon by squatters, posing a risk to the shuttle service. For instance, between kilometer 1 and 4, drug addicts have been spotted bathing directly on the railway line.
In terms of people encroaching the line and, of course, bathing on the line, we have also written to the Ghana Police Service for support.
Further down the route, more serious issues were identified around the 61-kilometer mark. Several bolts and nuts securing the rails to concrete beams have been stolen, leaving the tracks dangerously unfastened. In addition, a metal safety structure designed to regulate train speed has been cut and stolen by suspected scrap dealers, another setback to the operationalization efforts. Despite these setbacks, Dr. Apo insists that 70% of key defects spanning kilometer 1 to 40 have been resolved. He added that short to long-term measures, including plans to fence part of the rail line in densely encroached areas, have been mapped out.
We are also looking at the anti-encroachment strategy. This is where we are going to partly fence the most vulnerable areas that we saw, a Shaman area, that it is not complete fencing, but we are going to fence aspect of the most vulnerable areas that we identified when we went for the visit. This is to ensure that at least we protect goods and, most importantly, lives on the line.
According to him, additional weeks are needed to address remaining minor defects and ensure safety of commuters. He also spoke about the number of trains to be deployed in the interim.
So as part of what I call the shuttle service that we are going to embark, in the first interim, we are going to run one train at a time because we are yet to test the onboard system with the track side. Once we have completed the technical commissioning of the full system integration testing, you are then going to see at least multiple trains on the same track at the same time, because at the moment we can then run multiple trains safely without the possibility or avoiding the need of collusion.
The Tema Mpakadan shuttle service, once operational, is expected to reduce travel time and boost economic activity along the corridor. However, persistent encroachment and infrastructure damage continue to threaten the smooth and rapid takeoff of the service. The government must act decisively to protect this significant public investment and hold accountable those whose actions compromise public safety. Stanley Nibleu, TV3 News, Accra.
Now to another subject of keen interest to a lot of parents. In today's fast-paced digital world, concerns and screens are nearly impossible to avoid. Now, from classrooms to living rooms and even in our hands. While they offer convenience and entertainment, experts say there is a growing concern for children. Tonight, Ayisha Yakubu looks into the rising incidence of speech challenges in children linked to screen overuse.
For Kweku Sapong and his wife Akosia, not their real names, the silence was deafening. Their 3-year-old son, Kay, was not speaking for a child his age. Although children in the same age bracket mimicked words and sang along to nursery rhymes, Young K was always quiet, withdrawn, and was always on his screen. His mother says their war started after he was born during the COVID-19 lockdown.
We're always indoors, and we, the grown-ups, me, my husband, we're always on our phones. So we didn't see anything wrong with him being on the tab. But at a point where he needed to now show some sort of communication, it wasn't coming. And we didn't know that it was because of the fact that he was always on screen watching all these cartoons and things like that. When he needed something, he had to pull me to what he wanted to, have. So it was quite difficult.
Kay, who spends the whole day watching cartoons on his tablet, would become aggressive when it is taken away for even a minute.
Even when the tab goes off and we needed to charge it, he's throwing tantrums. He's angry. He's wild. He wants to have it and have it now. My husband came across a video talking about children who are exposed to, the screens, and he was like, okay, this could be the reason why he's showing all these signs, and so we should take him off.
The Sapon story is becoming more and more common in some homes across Ghana. Experts are seeing a sharp rise in language delays among children under 5. The most common link, excessive screen time.
That has ramifications, number one, for a child's academic performance. The ability to take notes, the ability to copy, the ability to draw can be compromised if they spend too much time on the screen. These days, we see a lot of children, who spend so much time behind the screen that when it comes to social interaction, they spend a lot less time. And so as they grow, their ability to communicate with their peers, with grown-ups, with adults, appears to be somewhat compromised.
According to the World Health Organization, children under 2 should have 0 screen time, while those aged 2 to 5 should be limited to just 1 hour per day and also under adult supervision. But in many households, screens have become a substitute for parenting, especially in busy urban environments.
We feel that we are taking it from them, but then we again are there as role models, and they are observing us on the screen all the time. You need to be mindful of the fact that you have this child in your space. So I need to check myself when it comes to this in order to ensure that I am not telling the child a different thing and acting differently, and that even brings about confusion in their minds.
You watch that screen with your child, explain what is going on with your child and all that, so that the child is able to give you some form of feedback. You are able to respond to expressions, your facial expressions and all that will be happening on the screen. And once the caregiver is there, they will not go beyond a certain time.
Experts warn that screens do not replace face-to-face conversation, play, or emotional bonding, which are essential for a child's ability to speak and understand language.
As you are cutting down their screen time, you actually have to substitute it with other activities that are more mentally engaging, more intellectually stimulating, and at the same time, you find them to be more rewarding. But in order for that to happen, what it means is that the parents themselves need to have an interest in this thing. These things can be very, very important in creating bonds, not just for the children, but for the family as a whole.
If you go to schools now, there are schools that are screening cartoons for these young people. There are churches screening cartoons for these young people. What are the thinking going into the planning of such programming for the children? The screen is truly having effect on children, and you see that a number of young people are also reporting to speech therapists nowadays. So parents are now having to make provision for that course because their language development is impeded.
With early intervention from his parents, Kay is slowly finding his voice again. The Sapons have replaced screen time with story time, daily walks, and interactive games, and they are seeing progress. The Sapon story is a wake-up call for all of us that behind the bright lights of our screens, our children need something far more powerful: our voices, our time, and our love. As screens become more integrated into our lives, experts are urging parents to stay present, speak often, and never underestimate the power of face-to-face time. Ayisha, Yakubu, TV3 News, Accra.
I think that's actually that's a great report you sent to us there. And we're not saying that throw the tablets away. We're saying that give us a nice balance.
Right.
You know, they should not be replacing the contact parents have with their children. You know, give us stories, not just videos. We want to have that emotional connection.
Absolutely.
As well.
And I also think that every child is different, you know, so it's up to the parent to keep the attention on them, whether you're busy or not. Just make time for your kids.
I think this is essentially a wake-up call to parents, educators, and children themselves.
Right. Let's move on to some more stories this evening, Crosby. The Minister for Health, Kwabena Minta Kando, has directed all heads of public health institutions to create special accounts dedicated to repairing or replacing faulty equipment rather than relying solely on government funding. He emphasized the need for accountability and integrity from the managers of public hospitals.
In the name of the Almighty God, swear.
At the swearing-in of boards of teaching hospitals across the country, including the Kolebu, Tamale and Sunyani teaching hospitals, the Health Minister, Kwabena Minta Kando, acknowledged the importance of public-private partnerships in improving healthcare delivery. He tasked hospitals to maintain two separate accounts, one for infrastructure maintenance and the other for servicing critical medical equipment.
I have a policy document in my office I have read, and when you ask every medical doctor, I am not a medical doctor, they will tell you that no patient should be taken away once the patient has been brought to the facility. But we do it. It happens. Sometimes I call some of the medical doctors or the CEOs or the heads of the agencies when people reach out to me. When they themselves go, they say there is no bed. When the minister calls, there's bed.
He also addressed the ministry's ongoing efforts to tackle opioid abuse.
We have medications that are registered and licensed and are permitted on the market of the country. So it is a responsibility of the Food and Drugs Authority to undertake such an exercise. So what it means is that any medication that is not approved by Food and Drugs Authority is not permitted on our market. As simple as that.
Kwabena Minta Kando announced that board members will be required to sign performance contracts guided by clearly defined key performance indicators (KPIs). Board chairman of the Kolebu Teaching Hospital, Professor Titus Bayo, assured the public of the board's commitment to transforming the facility.
I can't promise an overnight transformation, but Kolebu is the last stop for everybody. And any change we make in Kolebu is a change for all of us, because all of us are potential patients for Kolebu. Some of the few things I wish to see is efficiency in our services. I wish to see a day where Kolebu will never turn any emergency away on account of no bed. I wish to see that day, and I'm hoping that we'll do our best towards that journey.
The newly inaugurated board have been charged to ensure greater efficiency to strengthen the health sector.
This is News 360 live from our studios here at Desawe Kandai in Accra. Also on our social media platforms at TV3 Ghana. We're back with more stories after the break. Please stay with us.
Why are more and more professionals choosing Flamingo paint?
As an interior decorator, I aim for that beautiful, elegant look. Flamingo paint has great hiding ability to cover and transform old walls easily with just one coat.
Impressive. For me, as a professional painter, I love Flamingo paints because of this small paint that takes huge area, meaning more profit for me, great value for money.
As an architect, Flamingo paint, with its well-researched and solid composition, guarantees durability for all my buildings.
Flamingo paint, superior hiding, superior coverage, superior durability.
Welcome back to some more stories this evening. Employee burnout is a frequent issue, with many workers citing long hours and job stress. However, most Ghanaians expressed dissatisfaction with their jobs as they had hoped for better opportunities while growing up. Here's a report by Erica Jumakranchi.
Ghanaians are the third most stressed workers in West Africa, following Liberia and Sierra Leone. The 2025 Gallup report reveals that 63% of Ghanaian workers experience excessive work-related stress, with 6 out of 10 admitting to have anxiety attacks at work. Additionally, 47% report suffering from sleep deprivation due to job-related pressures. In expressing their frustrations, many workers say they remain in their jobs purely for financial reasons and are actively seeking better opportunities.
Okay, so I'm here because this is my mom's business and I have to help her out. So if I don't help her, we won't be able to feed, because this is what we feed on. This is what she's been doing since I was a child. This is what I've known her to be doing. Apart from that, she does this catering services. So if I don't help her, we won't be able to feed. But I do not love doing this. I don't like it at all.
I want to be a businessman, a successful businessman, but I just start from here because...
For some, however, their jobs offer more than just a paycheck. They provide a sense of purpose and fulfillment.
I'm a student and I trade online. As a student, sometimes you get bored when you're not studying. So I feel like it's something to clear my head. I use it to clear my head sometimes, and I'm always on my phone, so I think it's something that I don't mind doing.
I'm preparing food for a white man. I hope the salary is okay for me and he's treating me good. I'm happy. I love to do because it's also my handwork. What I learn, I hope I can use it to create my own business and employ people.
Workplace happiness among Ghanaian employees is influenced by a range of factors. Employers who prioritize employee well-being and address these key issues may see a boost in productivity and morale.
At the village of Hope in Gumwafete, Ghana, hope is more than just a name. It is a lifeline for children overcoming difficult circumstances. Now, this vision is sustained by the dedication of caregivers and the unwavering support of partners like Royal Kingdom Estate, which has donated over 100,000 cedis to the home. The contribution is part of the company's ongoing commitment to empowering underprivileged communities.
The Village of Hope is no ordinary orphanage. Here, children from all walks of life find a home, whether they have lost both parents, have only one, or come from families unable to care for them. Each child is placed here through the Department of Social Welfare, but they are not called orphans, they are a family. With 7 family-style homes, the village ensures every child grows up with both a mother and a father figure, surrounded by love and stability. The village has raised a neurosurgeon in Kumasi, the Member of Parliament for Madina, Francis Xavier Susu, and countless other professionals. Royal Kingdom Estate is reinforcing that mission with a generous donation exceeding 100,000 Ghana cedis. CEO of Royal Kingdom Estate, Danny Angels, says the donation aligns with their vision to always give back to the society.
Over the years, our corporate social responsibility has been very expansive. Our story of from nothing to where we are today actually encourages us to give back to society. That actually aligns with the vision of the organization as well. Each year we go to a couple of orphanages, but we selected this particular one because of the unique story of prominent people who have come out of this place, and today they are impacting society. That is why we selected this organization.
For the caregivers at the Village of Hope, the support is life-changing. Lawrence Barr, one of the fathers, shared their gratitude.
When you look at the items donated here, it starts from the cradle, because we have babies home here. So it's going to benefit us a lot. You can imagine how much we spend on pampers and diapers and babies' food. So these items are going to go a long way to help the kids. It's going to help us a lot. We are very grateful. We are very grateful because...
With this partnership, the Village of Hope continues turning trauma into triumph and many children's tomorrow leaders.
This is News 360. We're back with sports after this.
tradition here at TV3 is that the news comes first, and that's the promise of News Central.
With reporters every corner of the country.
Consignment to attend their action.
To production, building lions, and experts across the subject that affects you the most.
We stay across the big stories that impact you the most as they break, develop and evolve into major national issues.
With all angles covered across the country and across every subject. I am Kemini.
Hangover at Stamford Bridge earlier on Sunday. Earlier in the day as well, Brentford edged a young and much-changed Manchester United side 4-3 in a thrilling encounter to boost their hopes for also qualifying for European competitions for the first time.
Couldn't keep it up the second time though. Van Dijk!
In Ghana, top of the bill was hip life artist Reggie Rockstone, who was also involved in an exhibition fight.
And mixed martial arts, popularly referred to as MMA, rarely go hand in hand, but on Saturday, the venue at the heart of Ghana's boxing culture staged as events that many hope marks the beginning of a hugely popular sport. Razak is the only one flying the Ghana flag in the UFC, the highest stage in MMA. He says nights like Saturday are pivotal for the sport.
I think they'll be very amazing. I've seen some of them when they go to the ground, they don't know what to do or how to get out of it. And as long as we get that tweaks, I know we have a lot of good talent. I hope that now that I'm involved in here, we can get people to try and support, to help the people who want to do it, so like we can bring them coaches and good people who can train them so they can get better, so we can have a good future in it.
And he's not the only one. Yao Ampofo Ankara heads the National Sports Authority, whose mandate includes helping sports in various fields thrive. He is convinced MMA has huge potential in Ghana.
Perhaps, in Ghana we didn't see the vision, but now this sport is very big globally. It's a multi-billion-dollar sport, and I think it's one that could bring the sports economy a lot of opportunities, for employment in terms of, on a night like this, the kind of people who be involved. We need to look at all these.
Globally, MMA, like many sports, has been driven by entertainment, and in Ghana, hip life pioneer Reggie Rockstone has made the growth of the sports his mission, bringing his enormous celebrity pool, but also strong affection for martial arts to bear. He headlined the event on Saturday, but says stepping into the cage was to send a symbolic message.
But last but not least, I want you to understand that this was an exhibition. It wasn't really
Well, it's good to see Reggie Rockstone still fit and in action. But before we go, let's just bring you updates from the Accra Sports Stadium, which hosted the super clash between Heart of Oak and Kumasi Asante Kotoko in a match that ended as a goalless draw, with neither side really threatening themselves in a match day 30 fixture. What the result means is that Kumasi Asante Kotoko lose further ground on the title race as they now move to 51 points and are 5 points behind Bibiani Gold Stars, who have played a game more. Well, you can get more reactions on our social media handles at 3SportsGH. My name is Ray Kwampofo, and that's how we wrap up the sports segment here on News 360.
In entertainment news this evening, after 14 intense days in Big Mama's house, 2 housemates have been evicted from Perfect Match Extra. They failed to secure enough votes from the viewers, ending their journey in the reality show. But that's not all. Another housemate faced disqualification for breaking the house rules.
The stakes are high and the drama is heating up in Big Mama's house. The quest for love on Perfect Match Extra has been a roller coaster of emotions, passion, heartbreak and personal growth.
I wasn't sure of my own feelings. I wanted to get to know him more, so we were taking things slowly. But I feel like it's good now. It has grown.
It's grown. Yeah. But Big Mama isn't playing around. She's making it clear there's no room for indiscipline or disrespect in her house. Some housemates have landed themselves in Big Mama's bad books and paid the price during Saturday night's live show.
For having access to a third-party phone in the house, Jesse, you are disqualified. When the rule books clearly states no phones in the house. Bogdan EA, for keeping information about the third-party phone and soliciting for information from the phone, you have 1 strike, meaning 2 more strikes and you are out of my house. Van Dyke, for keeping information about the third-party phone, 1 strike, meaning 2 more strikes and you are out of my house.
In what was described as a heavy night of emotions, 2 housemates, Kandi and Shah, were evicted after failing to garner enough public votes.
It's been a very emotional evening, and I unfortunately make it a little worse. I'm sorry, but your time in Big Mama's house has come to an end. The second housemate, evicted tonight, but the third person leaving the house tonight is Perry, you're safe. Please say goodbye to your friends. And we officially
let's now bring you some international news.
Chinese leader Xi Jinping will pay an official visit to Russia from May 7 to 10. President Xi was already among the leaders set to attend the Victory Day parade in Moscow on May 9. The Kremlin says Xi was visiting at the invitation of Russian President Vladimir Putin, as well as taking part in Victory Day celebrations. The leaders will discuss further development of relations of comprehensive partnership and strategic interactions and issues on the international and regional agenda. Putin and Xi will sign a number of bilateral documents, it said. Xi's visit to Russia will be the third since the Kremlin sent troops into Ukraine in February 2022. China claimed to take a neutral position in the conflict, but it has backed the Kremlin's contentions that Russia's action was provoked by the West, and it continues to supply key components needed by Moscow for weapons production.
That's all for News 360 this evening. Thank you so much for joining us. I am Ayisha Yakubu.
And I am Noble Crosby, and it's always a pleasure having you join us. Make time for Date Rush. It is happening right after News 360. Join Giovanni, Caleb, and the interesting people there.